Hello there and welcome to my channel, Tranquility Through Life's Natural Beauty, the channel where there is something for everybody. So no one particular topic, so do take a look at my playlist and find what you're looking for. And we go straight to the chat today. Yes, the channel to check out today is Twinbrook Acres. So go over to Twinbrook Acres and say hello. And don't forget, while you're over there, if you like what you see, hit their subscribe button. It's a really cool channel. So do go and check out Twinbrook Acres. Okay, let's take a look at what's coming up today. Well, yesterday was a very big holiday in Cyprus, and I'm going to talk about that. Then, of course, we have quiz time, completely different subject each Friday for a quiz. Quote corner as normal, so the quote of the day. Then we have more story time, talking about life in the past, a real person's experience of living in the past, what the old days were like, an autobiography. And then, of course, we also have question of the day. So let's get rolling straight away. And today, to show you about the holiday yesterday in Cyprus, I've got a little 2-minute video that I made when I first started doing YouTube. I've tried to make a video on every holiday, and then if people ask me about it, I can just send a link. So I thought I would play that today for you for today's Friday film footage.
Since the time of the Apostles, there has been celebration by a feast celebrating the Assumption of Mary's heavenly birthday. It is a solemn day, a holy day of obligation. The Church also commemorates the Assumption as the fourth glorious mystery of the Rosary and the fifth glorious mystery of the crowning of Mary, Queen of Heaven. The Eastern and Western churches have differences of ideas of the Assumption. The Eastern churches believe in the dormition of Theotokos, sleep of the Mother of God. Their ancient icons show apostles mourning over a deceased Mary, with Jesus present, ready to carry her soul into heaven, and then her lifeless body taken to eternity 3 days later to be reunited with her spirit. The Western churches show art with Mary being taken alive, mind, body and soul, into eternity, but some art also shows her funeral. The Pope's words in 1950 leaves it to your own interpretation as to whether she died or not. But all agree it occurred in Jerusalem at the Church of the Assumption, the name now used for many churches, especially in Russia. There are many pilgrimages there, although there is no body, although there are bodies, bones, tombs, remains of all other saints and apostles.
I got a little trigger happy with my finger there. It actually switched me over to my browser. I was like, no, I don't want to go on my browser. It's because I don't know if any of you got it on your laptops. You've got like a bar that disappears and comes up. And I'm sometimes a bit like clicking on it and then the bar comes up. So instead of clicking pause or stop, it brings up that lower bar and I've ended up clicking on the browser. Oh well. So that was the holiday of Cyprus yesterday. Most holidays in Cyprus take place on the actual number date, regardless if it's a weekend or a weekday. So in England and some other countries, I know you have bank holiday Mondays. Here it would be the exact day, the actual number day, such as Christmas Day. You'll celebrate Christmas Day on the 25th of December, regardless of what day of the week it is. Well, that is all holidays here. So we don't have bank holiday Monday and other holidays. They are on the actual number day, which is cool because obviously everyone knows exactly when holidays are and when you'll be off work. So let's continue with this. Well, today I thought we would try a different subject completely, and this is a quiz on deserts. How much do you know about deserts? So as usual, I'm going to read them all first, and then I will read them again with the answers. So if you're watching this back later, as I know many of you do, then obviously you can pause this to think about your answers. So the first question is a Tuareg, I'm having trouble today. Is a Tuareg a type of sand dune or a member of a desert tribe? Stay tuned for me reading that again when I give the answers. Tuareg. The second question is, what type of sand dune forms when the wind blows in all directions? Don't be confused when the wind blows in all directions. It's not just a sand dune. The third question is, what is a one-humped camel called? I'm sure you all know this one. What is a one-humped camel called? The next question is, what is the name for wind carrying away fine sand? Ooh, do you remember your days of geography? What is the name for wind carrying away fine sand? How many of you remember that? The next one is, what is the slope of sand? What is the slope of a sand dune called? What is the slope of a sand dune called? Do you know that one? If not, you're certainly going to learn some things today. The next question is, wind blowing in two different directions creates which type of sand dune? We're certainly going to be learning about sand dunes today. And in case any of you haven't been watching my channels, I have let you know that my dementia is spiraling out of control. So I do apologise for my words. The next question is a hoodoo, Hoodoo, is a hoodoo either a type of sand dune, a rock formation, or a desert rodent? What is a hoodoo? The next question, last question for today. In which desert would you find a Tuareg? That's come to defeat me today. Tuareg. Tuareg. Okay, so I'll give you a minute to think of those. Twin Brookacre says, I knew most of those answers, but I can't remember now. Yeah, brings back the old geography days, particularly the sand dunes, the sand dune ones. I don't know if you studied sand dunes. We want our friend Desert Adventures in Arizona on. I'm sure they would know the answer. Okay, so before I give the answers to those, I think we will do our quote corner for Friday, our current quote. And if any of you don't know, one of the reasons I do lots of reading things to you on my lives is it helps with my brain damage. So it's all very well to read to yourself, but I can spot my own mistakes and errors, and speaking spontaneously and reading spontaneously is also a good key point. So my surgeons and medics and anyone who needs to can actually either look at my videos and see how I'm doing and how quick I was going to say progress is, it's the opposite, deterioration, how quick my deterioration is. And I can also pick up on certain points that I might not notice if I weren't reading out loud on lives and getting my words and thoughts together. So let's do the answers. Hey, we have Joe Hupp in. Joe Hupp, how are you doing, my friend? Nice to see you. Guys, do go and take a look at Joe Hupp's channel. Okay, so Joe, we're doing a quiz on deserts today. So I've already done the questions. I'll read them again and see if you can think of any answers before I read them out. So the first question was, is a tuareg a type of sand dune or a member of a desert tribe? Now the answer is actually, I'll just wait because I should be on the comments just in case anyone wants to add a comment. Joe's saying, I wish it was last weekend again. Had lots of fun catching up with friends. Oh, that's lovely. So the answer is actually a member of a desert tribe. So that's the first one. Question 2. What type of sand dune forms when the wind blows in all directions? I wonder if you could guess the answer if you didn't know it. Oh, Joe was busy checking out some amazing vehicles. Cool. I'm sure you'll be showing them on your channel. I have to check that out. So what type of sand dune forms when wind blows in all directions? And the answer is a star dune. And after today's questions, I'm sure you can go on Mastermind or a quiz and answer questions on sand dunes. People will be well impressed. The next question was, what is a one-humped camel called? I think that's the easiest question of the day. I'm pretty sure you will all know what that is. And the answer is, of course, a dromedary. There's jokes about that. Yes, well done, Joe. Joe got it right. Well done, Joe. And the next one is, what is the name for wind that carries away fine sand? And this is one I reckon Twin Brookacres did know. As I said, geography, pretty sure most of us did these at some point, whether we were paying attention in class or not, who knows? The answer is deflation. And now you've heard it, you're like, oh, I remember, yeah, deflation. Joe's saying he did a few lives during the weekend. I don't go onto YouTube during the weekend. I did for the first time in forever this weekend because Call Me Vi was doing her last ever live. So I did want to be on it. It was a weird time for me, but I did want to be there for that. So yeah, Call Me V. Call Me V did her last live. So go and check that out if you haven't seen it. I know it. Twin Brookay goes, yes, I remember. I knew you'd know the word for sure. Yeah, so Joe's saying he did a few lives during the weekend. One of the lives was from inside a 1989 Eagle Model 20 motor coach. Oh, I'm going to look at that. I like old cars. I'm not interested in modern cars, but I like old cars. I mean, 1989, that's not old, is it? That's not old. Oh, maybe it is to young people. I shouldn't talk. My birthday's coming up beginning of December and it will be a big one. Yes, 100. Yes, you got it. It is a big one. It is a big one. Okay, next question was, what is the slope of a sand dune called? It's what you probably do if you try to climb up the slope of a sand dune and what you'll hit. Now you're going to remember it when I say the answer. The slope of a sand dune is called a slip face. A slip face. So you slip and plant your face. So you'll remember that one now. Don't forget, it's Dawn who teaches you how to remember things. And I'm doing a series on this channel, how to learn, how to remember, how to study, how to make plans, how to achieve things. There's one coming up next, and it's how to identify the way you learn. Now, I did psychology, so I'm giving you information. So that's coming up. So if you're interested in all that, there's a lot of that kind of thing coming up soon on this channel, interspersed with other things. So those who are not interested still have content. Okay, the next question was, wind blowing in two different directions creates which type of sand dune? And the answer is a linear sand dune, a linear sand dune. Twin Brookacre says slip face. I don't remember that. I must have been busy talking with the pretty girl sitting next to me during that lesson. Oh, how sweet. How sweet. Okay. Next question was, is a hoodoo a type of sand dune, a rock formation, or a desert rodent? So hoodoo. I can't say I've heard of that one. Joe's saying I should know these. I've slept in a sleeping bag on a sand dune. Oh. Sometimes it's good to replenish your memories after all. And some of you might think, just talking about the series I'm going to do, I haven't talked about this in it yet, but a lot of people say you forget things as you get older. You don't actually forget things at all. You do not. What it is, think how many years of information's gone in your head. All you do is filter out stuff that isn't worthwhile storing anymore. So think like your computer bank. You can only hold so much information. Some are stronger memories, some are weaker memories. That's what dreams are. They're filtering out the day or previous thoughts, and that is where the filtering takes place, which is sometimes why you can't remember exactly all of a dream, because they're the bits you filtered out. So you might remember some key points. They're stored in your subconscious then till you need them another time. So yeah, you don't forget things as you get older. They are just irrelevant. They're irrelevant. Think about it. You get some old people get a bit crotchety. They can't be bothered. They don't want to know. They've chosen to forget your name. Joe saying the sand is so clean it squeaks underfoot. Look up Stockton Beach in Australia. Oh, if that's on your channel, Joe, do put a link in. Don't forget as well, Twinbrook Acres, anything you want to put in my chat about your channel, you're more than welcome. I'm here to help my supporters. So if either of you want to put any links in, or if you've got lives coming up, put the times in. This is your space. The chat is your space. So put in anything you like. And of course, I'll read it out because I know some people can't get the chat up later. So I will read out whatever you put. Joe saying that's not my channel. I only have photos of the beach. Well, they're good enough, Joe. We'll come and look at those. Did you answer that? Is a hoodoo a type of sand dune rock formation or desert rodent? And it's a rock formation. Yes, I must have done because we're talking about there. And the last question was, in which desert would you find a Tuareg? And that is the Sahara Desert. So how did you find that? We got some right answers. I think the first answer, Joe got dromedary. I think Twinbrook Acres got an answer in there. Did you not? You remembered anyway. You remembered as we went along. So round of applause for you both. Thank you for being here. And we're going to go on to story time after the applause. Now, just before I start story time, after I've finished here, I'm going to do another episode filming my nan's autobiography. And I've got it out ready to do. It's handwritten. It's a handwritten autobiography. And I'm reading that. It's a series on this channel. I think it's called the playlist Autobiography of My Nan, which is Grandma. Patricia Joyce Hurst, born 1918, and I'm enjoying reading it. I'm so glad to have a copy of that, the original form, and I will be doing another episode recording that. And let me show you a picture of my nan because I've got some cuttings possibly in the front of it. Let's see, what will you be able to see? There. That's my nan and granddad. Neither with me anymore, which is very sad. That's my nan and granddad there. And my granddad got an OBE. An OBE, if you know what an OBE is. So he got an OBE. So I will be reading that later for filming. That's my editing. Twinbrook Acres, I didn't get any. They were stored in there. They just didn't come forward. They just didn't come forward. You knew them after. You recalled them. Okay, let's go on to this. So this is an autobiography of an author who lived where I bought my first two houses in England. I bought a Victorian one and then an Edwardian one, both in the town of Wallington. Now, there are more than one Wallingtons in England. This is South London, Surrey. This is Surrey. So that, obviously, as soon as I saw the book, I bought it. And this picture here is quite near Both my houses were near to each other. I just upgraded to a bigger house. Both needed total gutting, which I did. But as I say, I was so interested in the area. So this is the book. The author is Eileen Whiting, and I've been reading them on every Friday Live so far. When we started reading this, I've been reading a different bit each week. So let's continue. If you enjoy it, go back to some other lives. And this chapter, it's only 2 pages, is talking about, she talks about religion this time. Ooh. Looking back on a lifetime of active membership of the Church of England, I'm conscious of gratitude for the fact that I was sent off to Sunday school at an early age, followed in due time by confirmation into the adult church. Actually, my first memory of a church was being taken at Christmas time by old Uncle Ben, I was about 6 years old, to St Mary's, Beddington, for the special purpose of seeing the golden infant Jesus in his crib. I think it was a life-size replica, and this made it a great impression on me. We were fortunate in having the Holy Trinity Church in Wallington for most of my youth, an outstanding preacher in our vicar, the Reverend of the O'Shea of Kerry, to give him his full title. And to this day, I recall many of his phrases. Now, that church was there when I lived there, but it got pulled down, and a Sainsbury's, which is a supermarket, was built there instead. There was lots of people trying to go against it, but they made excuses of it was too old and derelict, which wasn't. Too much money from Sainsbury's. The fact that we also had a rather handsome curate as well, no doubt added to the pleasure of church attendance, since I spent much of my youth falling in love with various members of the opposite sex. Thinking back to the congregation at that time, I can still picture the 2 Mrs. Gurneys who lived in one of the nearby large houses in Manor Road, and who came to church in winter swathed in grey squirrel fur coats and smelt deliciously of expensive attar of roses scent on their lace-edged handkerchiefs. Does anyone use handkerchiefs now, ladies? A little further along Manor Road lived the really eccentric Lady of Wallington, namely Miss Peel, who was always dressed completely in black from head to foot and wore her extremely long hair piled up about a foot high under her bonnet. She occasionally had an Indian missionary to stay in the house, well chaperoned by 2 residential maids, of course. And this was a point of great interest locally, since it was almost unheard of to see an Indian or an African in our neighbourhood. Major Apothecary, with his family, the daughter Ruth being a close friend of mine, also attended the church and was, I think, the main solicitor in our community then. Holy Trinity was always what one would call a middle-of-the-road church, being neither too high or too low in its approach. Great store was set on this, particularly as the trend in the parish church at Carshalton was to be Roman Catholic in all but name, with St Michael's in Milton Road being nearly as high and as much frowned on by the great majority. There was, of course, a great deal of religious intolerance at that time, and some things hadn't yet been thought of. At the time I'm speaking of, the Crusaders movement was very popular amongst young people and much sought after, although at this distance I realised it had a great snob value. The prevailing strict rule of membership that only admitted children from grammar or public schools did not then strike me as at all unsuitable or unchristian. Indeed, I was very proud to be admitted to the select band of girls who gathered for Bible readings and the singing of choruses every Sunday afternoon in a private house. I suspect that the occasional meetings at what were called squashes with the Boy Crusaders in their own new hall in Stanley Park Road had something to do with the attraction also. It was more or less automatic to be confirmed as one entered one's teens, but I still recall the sense of dedication and awe that I felt as, dressed in white from head to foot, I was received into the Church of England and blessed by the then very old Bishop of Woolwich in the ancient church at Beddington on a spring evening during 1928. The avenue of enormously tall trees lining the road to the old church met overhead and created a vault of greenery and arching boughs, which added greatly to the atmosphere surrounding the peaceful churchyard, where many of my own relatives were buried. Mother often told me the tale of how her own grandfather would walk to that church every Sunday morning carrying a tiny posy of flowers from the garden at Sunnydale under his top hat to be placed on his wife's grave in an ancient churchyard. We had a young people's fellowship attached to the parish church, and this met every Monday evening in the draughty and dingy parish hall in Queen's Road for various talks and games or socials. Apart, however, from the occasional garden fete in summer for Dr. Bernardo's homes, I cannot remember any social or charity events in connection with our church life, and obviously religion was largely to be reserved for Sundays and not carried over to weekdays. The only event every year which remains in my mind is the Armistice, now called Remembrance Day, service, which was held at Wallington Green by the War Memorial and attended by huge crowds in very emotional atmosphere. Later, I became a Sunday school teacher at the Elm Grove Mission nearby. Not very much emphasis was given to the special festivals of the Christian year as regards floral decorations or discussions, though the sermons carried suitable messages appropriate for the day. But the richness of the music added much to one's inner experience. As for myself, I believe the ideals of the Christian way of life are beyond compare, and personal faith an anchor to cling to. But oh, what a hard path it is to tread. No wonder so few attempted it. So next time we're on to manner and customs. Manner and customs. We're nearly at the end of the book. In fact, is that the last section? Or no, there's two more. There's games after. So we have a couple more sections. I might split those up. So I just read a couple of pages. Okay, let's go on to this. I did put a short up on my other channel and it was a question, so let's ask the question here. What is the most obscure food you have ever eaten? What is the most obscure food you have ever eaten? And my answer there was winkles and cockles of English food, because many people don't even know what some of those are. And it's seafood. Cockles are, I can't even describe what they look like. They're very small. Very small, very small. That's quite big, smaller than that. And they were kind of an orange flesh colour mixed in. And they're sea creatures, obviously. And you used to buy them and you just ate them as they were. You didn't cook them. You just ate them with vinegar. So you just had a fork, bread and butter and vinegar. Tell me if you know what cockles are. And the other thing was winkles. And again, they're sea fish, sea creatures. Imagine snails, because winkles look exactly like snails, but they're much smaller. And I don't think you do it with snails, but before you could pull out the innards, like the snail bit, there was a little lid before the snail bit, and imagine one flat sequin. It was grey colour, but you had to knock that off with a pin. So I'm not quite sure why Winkles had that. Why did Winkles have that? Was it some defence system it could put up when it was inside? I don't know. I've only just thought I didn't know that, but you had to get a pin and knock that off, and then use the pin again to dig in and scoop out the winkle. As I say, they're smaller than snails. So imagine a baby snail, not a tiny, tiny baby, but a baby snail, and that was probably the size of a winkle. And again, you'd have bread and butter with that. And that's what you'd have for tea, like when you have sandwiches in the evening, tea, some of you might say supper, that's when you would have that. You wouldn't have it as a main meal. It would be an English tea, basically. No, Twinbrook Acre says not familiar with either, but I do like seafood. When I did that, my short was taken from a full Q&A video, and someone had asked that what was the most obscure food, and I just said those, thinking, oh, people know what they are. And particularly my American friends, so many people said we haven't got a clue what they are. Haven't got a clue. So I think I said on the full video when I'm answering the question that something you might think is quite normal has never been heard of by many other countries, or obscure. And I would say about, obviously, when I used to go abroad a lot, I would always try and eat something from, or several things from different countries that I hadn't heard of or at least tasted. So things to me that seem normal, then obviously a lot of people don't know. So what is something, that's my question of the day, not only what is the most obscure thing you've eaten, but what is something quite normal you eat in your country that you think other people might not know of. So it doesn't have to be a whole food as such, but something you eat. Let me know. Sounds similar to oysters and clams. I've never eaten clams. Have I eaten clams? And oysters. Yeah, I would say oysters, that cockles are a very small version, if you like. They're not jelly, but you could squidge them a little bit. So yeah, I would say similar to oyster that you could get, but they're very pinky orangey. Think of like when you see a flamingo that's a bit more orangey than the pink. That's kind of the colour. And then also in that video, I think I also spoke about liquor. Now, we're not talking alcohol. I know in America, liquor is alcohol. We don't say liquor, we just say alcohol. But that's not what I'm talking about when I tell you about English liquor. Now, some English people may not know of liquor. You had to be a Londoner. You wouldn't find it in the north of the country, and you wouldn't find it really south of London. It was in London, particularly the East End of London. And you can still get it in a few places now. Just before I came out here, I went into Croydon, which some of you may know Croydon. You would have heard of Croydon, I expect. Used to be a massive airport in Croydon in the wartime. And no airport there now, hasn't been for many years. But liquor, so I went to Croydon. You could still get there, and a couple of other places in London. But liquor is something you have with pie. Now I'm talking meat pies, meat type pies, not dessert pies, meat pies. Meat pies, potato, 9 times out of 10 that would actually be mashed potato, and then instead of a gravy or a sauce, you would have liquor. Now, liquor pours on like your ketchup, catsup, tomato sauce. You pour it on like that, and it is think of a dark green, but imagine dark green luminous. That is the colour of liquor. That is the colour of liquor. That is what liquor is. So if you go to London and you don't try and find somewhere that serves liquor, you haven't really had a traditional English meal. Forget going and having cream teas and cucumber sandwiches and whatever you might think is very traditional. Oh, and while we're talking about that, like I said, that is a southern thing, not a northern thing, because there is a divide. Any of you who don't know, it's like another world, the north to the south and the south again. So you've got south, then you've got London and Surrey, if you like, and then you've got the north, which is something else completely different. Now, everyone thinks fish and chips has mushy peas with it. That is only a north thing. People like myself has never in their whole lives had mushy peas, seen mushy peas, or would ever eat mushy peas with fish and chips. And sometimes you go abroad and you have expats run restaurants or places like that, and they'll always have on the menu, because most of them are northerners that go to repatriate in Spain or Portugal or France. A lot of them are northerners because they're the cheaper countries to go to. They will always say there's mushy peas with fish and chips. So somehow this is all spread around the world. People think English fish and chip shops, you have mushy peas with them, only if you're from the north. So tell me your obscure foods or your obscure things you think I might not know of or might not have had. And sometimes, as I say, it can be the most simplest of things that you think everyone will know about, but they don't. Twin Brookacre says lobsters are common here. Right, because they're right off our coast. I don't know about the rest of the world. Yes, seeing as we're a very small island, we're surrounded by sea, fish, lobster, octopus, that's a really big thing out here, squid, all types of fish, and many a sea restaurant here. They will actually have people fishing out on the pier or out in the sea or come back in a boat, and they say, oh, we've just caught an octopus, do you want that? So yeah, lobster here you can get pretty much anywhere as well. But yeah, you're right, a lot of people probably not, and some places would charge a fortune for them when they're just so readily available in lots of places. Maybe for you as well, as you say, it's right off your coast. If they're abundant, probably not as ridiculously expensive as in many places. And something else while we're talking about food really is a bugbear. The smaller portion you get, the more people charge. It's not rare at all. So yeah, what else is obscure? Oh, what about Cypriot food? What's obscure? Well, I would say just names of things. We mix our national dishes are just different things mixed together. There's a lot of things eaten in vine leaves, grapevine leaves, and they roll rice and things. I know a lot of countries do similar to that, but they roll rice and meat and things in vine leaves. Domates is what they're called. But that's something a lot of people haven't done. I don't like when people go abroad and revert to, let's say, McDonald's, because most of you know McDonald's, revert to that, or have to take their tea with them or whatever it is. No, go to, as I say, a lot of countries like Spain have brick restaurants and they have to go in there and go and try something. How do you know? I like to go abroad in a supermarket and try and look for local stuff, see what there is as well. Twin Brookacre says lobsters are expensive here. They are abundant, but government regulations have driven up the cost. Right, they're probably so they're not overfished then, possibly, because we do have to watch that, of course. Our sea regulations here are sizes, so they can only fish and they have to throw back things if they're under certain sizes, and obviously not to fish in breeding seasons. That's something. Oh, hello. It's Mr. Colin Waffles. Oh, let me get him. Here's Mr. Colin Waffles. Hello, you haven't been on the live for ages, have you? He's got used to, if I'm talking in here, I might be doing narrating over a video, and I go, be quiet, be quiet. So, not now, darling. So he worries now if I'm talking. Am I narrating? Because you used to always come in on a live, didn't you? You staring. Oh, staring at you. All right. Yes. It's not dinner time yet. What time is it? Let me see. Let me tell you all. Oh, it's 2:50. He doesn't eat till 4. It's 2:50 p.m. I had a very strange comment on my other channel today. It was only on the short, and I think it was just showed my basil and another herb, basil and parsley, I think it was. And I just showed that. No, I don't think the title was anything. I think it was just basil and parsley. And someone's commented, I'm sure there's someone who watches my channel, and they put, so good that you can grow all that with all your snow. We never, ever, 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 ever in whole history of time had snow where I live. We have snow miles up in the Troodos Mountains, but not necessarily every year. And there is skiing there, but it's not like a country you'll come to do skiing. There's not that much snow. But that's only like a tiny speck of our whole country. Most of our country won't ever get snow. I thought that was a bit strange, so I did just let her know. I was like, well, we never have snow here. We never had. We're mostly a very hot country. I mean, we can still have like really hot Decembers, and our worst months are probably January, February. But I've had times on my birthday, which is the 6th of December, and we can be in the swimming pool. So you couldn't plan anything per se, but we might have rain then. We might not. We might not. We don't normally get rain till middle to end of November, sometimes not even then. And I just have to keep my eye on the weather then, because we pick our olives in November and you can't have it rain and then pick them. So sometimes I might pick them a little bit early if I think there's a possibility of rain. But sometimes I've not picked them to the end of November, which is the latest I would pick them. And still no rain. Still no rain. So, yeah, never snow here. We never get snow. One reason why we came to live in Cyprus. Mike cannot abide cold. I like that we have change of season. I've said before, we did contemplate different islands in the Caribbean, because I've been to different places and spent a long time there, not just holiday time, and really loved them. But I didn't feel there was enough to do for kind of the rest of my life. And also I didn't want to go that far because of hurricanes. So we have earthquakes here, but not terrible. I say not terrible. I have read before how there have been very devastating ones here. And we've got cracks in our house that you can see through from earthquakes, but they're not like disaster ones that you see in a lot of countries where all properties fall down, unless of course people have bought or had built properties on the edge of cliffs and mountains. Well, of course you're going to have a situation. So there is that. He's laying down now. Oh, he's cleaning his paw. You're right there. Yeah. Yeah, did you hear him? Yeah. Yeah, I don't know if you can hear him, but he's shouting now so they can hear you. Yeah, I don't know if you can hear him. You're a good boy. Yeah, he's a good boy. You're a good boy. Yeah, so I think that just... Oh, you want to come up again? Come on then. Ugh, he's so heavy. He's so heavy. There we go. Let's sort your back legs out. Here you go. You say hello. Yeah. It's purring now. Yeah, after this, I'm going to do some narration. Yeah. Yeah. You have to go and find your brother. Yeah. Okay, then. Well, I think that wraps it up for today. Thank you for being here. Thank you especially to those watching back later, because I can't say hello to you unless you put a comment in the comments to say hello. Then I can say hello to you as well. Lovely to see Joe Hutt pop in and Twinbrook Acres. Lovely to chat with you. And I will see you all again here either... Ooh, will I see you next Friday? Yes, I will see you next Friday. Just looking at something. Yes, I will see you next Friday here. Or do go and check out my lives on my main channel, New Beginnings, my everyday life in rural Cyprus. They're quite a bit later than this one. So if you feel this is a bit early for you live, then do check out the times of that one. So until then, have a good one. Have a lovely weekend. Take some time for yourself, but also do something to take a step forward. Bye for now.